Mr. Burns is a narcissist, stone-cold killer, sociopath, hypocrite, and a wicked old man who treats everyone poorly. He murdered his parents, and he is as bad as you think he is. In this video, you'll find out why he's pure evil.
You're fired!
The darkness that is Charles Montgomery Burns. I'm not just saying this because there's a dark side to Springfield's richest man. I'm saying this because every side of this man is evil. Off the top of your head, can you even name one good or kind thing Mr. Burns has done? Exactly. You need to think about it. Even though he has done few good deeds throughout the show, like becoming Batman and risking his own life to protect Lisa, but when it comes to his evil deeds, boy oh boy, I'd need more than 10 minutes to tell you all about them. The man even almost admits to being the actual Prince of Darkness when he goes out on a fancy date with Jacqueline Beauvais.
I swear, Monty, you are the devil himself.
Who told you?
Yes.
We're going to investigate his darkest of darkest deeds and attempt to figure out what could drive a man to do the things he does. That way, we can really understand the darkness that is Charles Montgomery Burns. Dark Origins. Long before Mr. Burns became, well, Mr. Burns, he was a young boy free of trauma and evil. That's so strange. What exactly happened that made him so evil? Burns has a backstory so rich and extensive that even 30 years of The Simpsons can't fully capture it. That's partly because he's incredibly old. His age is one of the show's funniest running jokes, and the details are so scattered and contradictory that it's hard to pin down exactly when he was born. Some episodes say 1881, others say 1890, but since he graduated from Yale in 1914, he was probably born around 1894. The show's going to keep making jokes about how old Mr. Burns really is, so we may really never know. There's a particularly traumatic childhood memory where he was performing in a Pee-wee pageant. While dancing enthusiastically, his pants accidentally came off, and he ended up mooning the entire crowd. But I don't think that's what really traumatized Monty Burns. When Mr. Burns was about 6, his parents Clifford and Daphne affectionately nicknamed him Happy because of his cheerful nature.
Happy! Come here, Happy!
Yes, Mumsy?
But that didn't last. He quickly turned into an angry, ill-tempered child. As a boy, he happily went to live with his grandfather, Wainwright Montgomery Burns, an evil billionaire who ruled the Springfield Atom Mill with an iron fist.
Come on, crack those atoms! You, turn out those pockets!
Unsurprisingly, this didn't do much to shape young Burns into a kind or decent person. Under Wainwright's harsh guidance, or more like tyranny, Charles grew up to be a dangerous, evil brat. He'd watch the way his grandpa ran the atom mill and adopt a thing or two about evil and brutal leadership. Adding to his dark origins, Mr. Burns had 10 older siblings who all met grim and bizarre ends. One was trampled by a horse, another impaled by the Chrysler building, one was stabbed, and his twin sister was shot. Others died in equally strange ways. One fell down a well, another spontaneously combusted, and the rest ate poisoned potatoes.
My older brother was trampled by a horse. My sister died of a poisoned potato. My twin was shot. That girl was stabbed. He ate another poisoned potato. Spontaneous combustion, fell down a well, potato, and impaled on the Chrysler building.
With all his siblings gone, the family fortune was destined to land in Mr. Burns' lap eventually. Makes you wonder if all those accidents were really just bad luck. Makes you really wonder if Burns learned a thing or two from the diabolical Wainwright Montgomery Burns.
Wow, only you survived, which means the entire fortune went to you.
Yes, funny that.
Damn, with an origin story as sketchy as this, are you not wondering if his grandfather's influence is still driving him or if there's more behind his evil? Getting darker.
Master Burns! Carry on!
My legs can't keep me!
Who'll provide for me, little one?
If you think Mr. Burns was cruel to his siblings, his mother had it even worse. In the episode Homer the Smithers, we learn he holds a deep grudge against her because she had an affair with President William Taft. His anger ran so deep that he once tried to pull the plug on her life support. She survived and went on to make his life miserable for another 50 years. Later episodes suggest she eventually passed away, with Burns claiming it was due to something as mundane as a lack of indoor plumbing. But in the Mansion family, Burns openly writes that his parents' death were because they
Got in my way.
So this man legit murdered his entire family. I see. Maybe that's why he once said this to a group of children at Springfield Elementary School.
Family, religion, friendship. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
While the details of Mr. Burns' mother's death might be murky, his attempts on the lives of Bart and Abe Simpson are crystal clear. Yeah, let's go into what might just be one of Mr. Burns' darkest moments, because not only did he embody the sin of greed like he always does, his greed drove him to literally hold a gun to a child's head.
You coward! You're an embarrassment to the name Hellfish.
Who am I?
In Raging Abe Simpson and His Grumbling Grandson and the Curse of the Flying Hellfish, we learn that Grandpa Simpson served alongside Burns in a World War II Army unit called the Flying Hellfish. During the war, Burns persuaded the group to steal valuable paintings from a German castle, agreeing that the last surviving member would inherit the loot. But greed consumed Burns. Determined to be the sole survivor, he tries to have Abe killed. When that fails, Burns personally goes after Bart, dragging him into danger as well. Burns would ultimately hold Bart at gunpoint, kick him into a safe, and kick the safe into the ocean, leaving Bart to drown to death. This isn't Bart's first brush with death at Burns' hands, though. In the earlier episode, Bart gets hit by a car. Burns accidentally runs over a skateboarding Bart. Anyone could have hit Bart with their car, but no one but Burns could feel zero remorse for the criminal act. While it wasn't intentional, his chilling lack of remorse shocks even his ever-loyal assistant Smithers. For a man who is the main suspect behind the death of his family, killing people who get in the way of what he wants isn't a problem, and we see this happen so many times. Another time we see this happen is in CE2. In this episode, Homer manages to trick Mr. Burns into giving up control of the Springfield nuclear power plant. Unsurprisingly, Burns is furious about being outsmarted and becomes determined to take back what's his. Meanwhile, Homer quickly realizes that being CEO isn't all it's cracked up to be and starts considering stepping down. But instead of resolving things peacefully, Burns opts for a more evil approach. He knocks Homer out with a brick and tries to trap him in the Burns family mausoleum. His plan might have worked if he hadn't wasted so much time sealing the exit.
By the time you wake up, you'll be walled inside my mausoleum forever.
Greed is definitely a driving force behind Burns, and you'd be shocked to know what else motivates him to enjoy being evil. And darker. The season 6 finale, Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1, showcases Mr. Burns at his absolute worst. After failing to convince Principal Skinner to hand over the school's newly discovered oil reserves, Burns decides to steal the oil outright. His actions cause several people to lose their jobs and even result in Santa's little helper getting badly hurt. Adding to his villainy, he tries to steal candy from a baby but discovers that it's not as easy as it sounds. And that's just the beginning. Stealing the oil is only step 1 of Burns' grand scheme to exploit Springfield. He then unveils a mechanical device designed to block out the sun, plunging Springfield into eternal darkness. This ensures that the townspeople will have no choice but to rely on his nuclear power to escape their never-ending night.
Perpetual twilight, bathed in the glow of Burns brand electricity. Hello, lamppost.
This wouldn't be the first time he would do something so depraved to Springfield. Before ruling over Springfield from his lavish office at the nuclear power plant, which the town relies on for energy, Mr. Burns dabbled in even more sinister enterprises. In the 1960s, he was in charge of the Germ warfare laboratory at Springfield University, where he used science to develop deadly biological weapons. The lab's sole destructive purpose was proudly displayed in its slogan, "When the H-bomb isn't enough." During this time, Homer Simpson's mother, Mona, became involved in the anti-war movement. Alongside a group of 6 other activists, she broke into Burns' lab and set off a bomb that destroyed all the deadly germs inside. As they fled, the group accidentally ran Burns down. Mona, showing compassion, stopped to check on him, but instead of being grateful, Burns reported her to the authorities. This forced Mona to go on the run for the rest of her life. all because she had destroyed his precious germs.
How could I not become a radical when we were fighting a force of pure evil?
Hey, Mr. Burns, enough already with the germ!
The question, why, still lingers. Why does Burns do what he does? We know that his evil granddaddy had a hand in grooming him to be the evil that he is. We know that he's greedy. But if you think these are the only reasons he's evil, you'd be wrong. You see, while investigating this man, I found out that he is how do I put this without getting striked by YouTube? A very loyal buddy to Hitler. That's right. In addition to improbably serving in two branches of the military on opposite sides of the world during the same period, Mr. Burns played a major role in the supply chain of World War II. Long before his days as a nuclear industrialist, he claimed to have been a weapons manufacturer. In A Star is Burns, Burns compares himself to Oskar Schindler, the heroic figure from Schindler's List who saved 1,200 Jewish people by employing them to make intentionally defective bombs. Burns, however, was far less noble.
Listen, Spielbergo, Schindler and I are like peas in a pod. We're both factory owners, we both made shells for the Nazis, but mine worked, damn it.
His loyalty to Hitler is further confirmed in American History Excellent. When arrested for possessing stolen Dutch masterpieces, authorities uncover an SS membership card among his belongings, proving he was one of Hitler's top henchmen.
Social Security card.
That's just an SS card, you dummkopf.
If that's not enough proof for you, this might just be. In the Season 2 episode Flaming Moe, Mr. Burns signs his will as Charles Montgomery Plantagen Schicklgruber Burns. This inclusion of Schicklgruber implies a possible connection to Adolf Hitler, as that was the original surname of Hitler's father before it was changed to Hitler. Despite his clear allegiance to Hitler, Burns was later entrusted by President Harry Truman in 1945 to deliver a $1 trillion bill to Europe for post-war reconstruction. Unsurprisingly, the ever-greedy Burns kept the money for himself. Seeing this man commit such atrocities makes you really wonder, can he really be saved from evil? The solution? Mr. Burns is the epitome of unchecked corporate greed, a narcissist, sociopathic, hypocritical, stone-cold killer. Unlike classic villains wielding superpowers or magic, Burns thrives on pure, ruthless ambition to stay on top. In his twisted world, everything revolves around him and everyone is expected to bow to his whims. He solidifies his evil nature, if there was doubt about that, by constantly refusing any opportunity to be good. Take the time he bribed doctors to jump the line for a heart transplant, dooming another patient to die. His message was clear. His life is worth more simply because he's rich. What makes Burns truly chilling and oddly relatable is how much he resembles real-life villains. Yes, they're shadows in corporate offices, airports, entertainment industries, and even your local Target. For Mr. Burns, morality and empathy aren't just optional, they're nuisances. Every episode he's in is another reminder of his near irredeemable cruelty. And yet, there's a glimmer of possibility, a tiny, almost microscopic chance he could change under the right circumstances. But the odds are slim, not because he doesn't know right from wrong, but because he enjoys doing wrong. Watching others suffer while he thrives isn't a byproduct of his greed, it's a part of the appeal.
From now on, I'm only going to be good and kind to everyone.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have a pencil.
Don't worry, I'm sure I'll remember it.
But what do you think? Is there really some good in Mr. Burns, or has his dark side consumed him beyond salvation?